I love you.
The Deer Hunter, 1978, a film that shook America, won the Best Picture Oscar and left audiences both awed and furious. Point 20 hidden facts, surprising and sometimes bittersweet. Fact 1. Amazing origin, the movie that split Oscar night. The Deer Hunter was a force of the 1979 Academy Awards. It won Best Picture and Best Director for Michael Cimino, among several other Oscars. The film's awards helped secure its place in film history, but they also intensified debates about what the movie meant and how it portrayed the war. This Oscars victory made the film a national conversation starter overnight. Fact 2. Amazing industrial realism, real steel mills, real danger. The film's opening steel mill sequences were shot in actual U.S. steel plants. The production used real furnaces and mill workers to create a gritty, lived-in world. Those scenes were not just cinematic set pieces, they were labor scenes filmed amid real industrial risk. The mill work gives the film a documentary-like texture that anchors the first act in a strong sense of place. Fact 3. Amazing ritual, the photo in back pocket idea. Each of the main guys carries a photo of the group in his back pocket. That small prop choice created visible and invisible emotional continuity. It's a tiny human detail that visually tells viewers these men were forged together long before the war. It was more than a prop, it was a storytelling device that underlined the film's theme of communal loss. Fact 4. Amazing performance, De Niro's quiet prep. Robert De Niro prepared for his role not by military training, but by immersing himself in the lives of steelworkers. He spent time in local bars and homes to capture the rhythms of blue-collar Pennsylvania life. That lived-in preparation helped him bring credibility to Mike's quiet toughness. This is a classical De Niro method, becoming the life he plays. Fact 5. Amazing schedule. John Cazale's scenes were shot first. John Cazale, who was terminally ill while filming, had his scenes shot first. The production rearranged the schedule so Cazale could complete his work before his health worsened, a decision that shaped the entire shooting plan. The result is a film where his presence is preserved intact and respectfully a last artistic statement. Fact 6. Amazing ACT of friendship. Robert De Niro paid for insurance. The studio considered dropping Cazale because he was almost uninsurable. According to multiple accounts, Robert De Niro paid for Cazale's insurance so he could remain in the film. That private act of friendship kept a brilliant actor on screen in his final role. De Niro later described it simply, "That's what friends do." Fact 7. Amazing structure. The film feels like 3 movies. The Deer Hunter reads like 3 distinct acts: the Pennsylvania life, the Vietnam nightmare, and the shattered homecoming. That 3-part structure was intentional and gives the film a mythic sweep: the before, the during, and the impossible after. This structure is why the movie feels epic in scope, yet intimate in detail. Fact 8. Amazing myth. Russian roulette is more symbol than history. The famous Russian roulette scenes are a dramatic invention, not a documented tactic used by the Viet Cong in large, verified numbers, and have been widely discussed as symbolic, not documentary. The scenes are meant to be an extreme metaphor for the randomness of death in war and the psychic games soldiers played later, but critics argue the depiction simplified and demonized the enemy. That tension is central to debates about the film's moral stance. Fact 9. Amazing controversy. Accusations of racist stereotypes. Critics accuse the film of stereotyping and dehumanizing Vietnamese characters. The Russian roulette sequence, in particular, drew anger for presenting an inscrutable evil image of the enemy rather than complex human motives. That controversy is one reason the film remains debated decades later. People asked whether the film's emotional power came at the cost of accuracy and empathy. Fact 10. Amazing writing wars. Credit disputes behind the scenes. The film's writing credits were contested. Derek Washburn wrote early drafts, but Michael Cimino and others also claimed or contributed to rewrites. The Writers Guild arbitration gave Washburn sole screenplay by credit while others received story by credits. This dispute left behind a tangled authorship story that shaped how the film's origin gets told, and it revealed how much behind-the-scenes power plays can rewrite a movie's origin myth. Fact 11. Amazing local impact. How the film changed Johnstown-style towns. The film's raw portrait of working-class Pennsylvania did something unusual. It made places like the town depicted into symbols. After release, many small steel towns found themselves looked at differently by the public, sometimes sympathetically, sometimes as relics. The film captured a moment when U.S. steel communities were under economic pressure, and that social reality added weight to the characters' pre-war bonds. Fact 12. Amazing soundtrack. Minimalist score, maximal emotion. The score uses spare, haunting themes to underline emotional emptiness. Rather than bombarding audiences with leitmotifs, the music often retreats and lets silence and ambient sound do the emotional work. This restraint makes the film's moments of silence almost unbearable, a deliberate choice that lets audience imagination fill the shapes. Fact 13. Amazing technique. Vilmos Zsigmond's cinematography. Vilmos Zsigmond's cinematography gives the film its painterly, natural light look. He used techniques that made factory interiors feel monumental and Vietnam exteriors feel claustrophobic, shifting lenses, long takes, and careful use of smoke and backlight. These visual choices create a contrast between the men's pre-war sunlight and the strange light of war. Fact 14. Amazing acting choices. Meryl Streep's role was expanded. Meryl Streep's role originally had fewer lines on the page. Cimino encouraged her to write some of her own lines and to help shape Linda's emotional rhythm. That collaboration deepened Linda's presence in the film and gave Streep space to make the character quietly unforgettable. Fact 15. Amazing reality. Some scenes used local non-actors. Several background and supporting players were local workers and non-actors. The film's team deliberately cast real people for backgrounds, like a mill foreman who was offered a small role to add authenticity. That mix of professionals and real locals gives many scenes a lived reality no set could reproduce. Fact 16. Amazing timing. The film helped reignite public conversation about Vietnam. Alongside other films of the late 1970s, The Deer Hunter reopened public dialogue about Vietnam. It wasn't just a movie, it was part of a cultural re-examination that included debates about veterans and national responsibility. The film's extreme images forced audiences to look again, even if they didn't agree on what they saw. Fact 17. Amazing luck. Walken's Oscar and his screen life. Christopher Walken won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for his role as Nick. His performance is measured, haunted, and oddly magnetic, and the award recognized how he made internal damage visible without melodrama. Walken's haunting calm is one of the film's most memorable gifts. Fact 18. Amazing Ritual 2. The gambling table as character. The Russian roulette sequences operate almost like an additional character, a ritual with pounding rules and consequences. It's staged as a theater of power and humiliation. The camera, the guards, and the anxious faces all combine to make the game a physical symbol for fate and dominance. This staging turned a single invented conceit into the film's most talked-about image. Fact 19. Amazing legacy. The film shaped veteran memorial ideas. The film affected people beyond moviegoers. A veteran who saw the film later helped found the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Project. The emotional impact of the film moved individuals to shape public memory and commemoration, a reminder that film can affect real civic actions. Fact 20. Amazing duality. Why people still argue about its morality. The Deer Hunter remains controversial because it mixes moral grief with dramatic invention. Its empathy for American veterans is raw and honest, but the film's invented brutality, as seen in the Russian roulette sequences, forced conversations about representation, truth, and the filmmaker's responsibility. In short, people still argue because the film asks painful, unresolved questions and refuses easy answers. That's a 20 hidden facts about The Deer Hunter that prove why this movie still matters. Drop a comment with your favorite fact and subscribe for Classic Hollywood And remember, sometimes the silence in a movie says more than the words ever could.